Joining us now is Austen Ivereigh, Pope Francis biographer and the author of the book, The Great Reformer. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So what do you think about the visit so far?
I think it's been extraordinary, and I think this morning's speech was definitely a barnstormer. I think he's taking America by storm very gently by appealing directly to its heart, appealing to those seeds of the gospel that he sees present in America, and then holding up that mirror to America and saying, I want you to be great again. This is how you have the seeds of your own renewal there in your own culture. I thought it was beautifully done this morning.
Austin, I think it's interesting. A lot of people have said that this pope is a liberal pope, but it feels to me that when you look at Catholic dogma, even though he has urged the bishops to move away from dogma, to be more inclusive, to show mercy, this is the year of mercy. On the other hand, it seems that he is more liberal on political issues. He wants to abolish the death penalty. He wants a more fair and open immigration policy. But when it comes to same-sex marriage, when it comes to people who have been divorced, for example, he's pretty stuck on Catholic dogma.
Well, I'm afraid that's why the lens of liberal versus conservative just doesn't work. It breaks down. I mean, look, Catholic social teaching has always been, in favour of immigrants, against the death penalty, critical of a liberal capitalism, which puts the individual and money at the centre rather than the needs of the poor and so on. Actually, he's not saying anything new when he says... In fact, this morning, there was nothing new in terms of Catholic teaching. What Francis has done to a really remarkable degree, though, is he's brought front and centre the bit of church teaching which often gets overlooked in the way that the church is often reported, which is the unconditional love and acceptance of God of every human being. Now, that, he says, that must come first. The rest remains true. He's not challenging or undermining or diluting in any way church doctrine, but he's saying, actually, people will only be converted when they directly experience this unconditional love, forgiveness, charity. That's why this morning, straight after being in Congress, he was with the homeless to a place that, because he believes that only when you experience that are you then open to truth. That's the significant innovation of this papacy.
But, there are themes in things he says that sound an awful lot like liberation theology, which he railed against when he was in Buenos Aires as a younger man.
Well, there's a whole chapter in my book on this. It's complex because really there are two kinds of liberation theology. He was part of one, not part of the other. He was part of the one that rejected Marxist social sciences. He actually believed his whole outlook is formed really by a kind of a nationalism. He's really somebody who believes in culture, and I've been fascinated today and yesterday to see how he has been clearly boning up, studying for this trip, understanding America and affirming the culture. And today, to look at America through the eyes of four Americans, right? Martin Luther King and Dorothy Day. And
two of whom were Marxists or considered Marxists.
Well, quite. But he's saying actually that they embodied something American there, which actually that's how we need to look at America from. So yeah, he can sound left-wing, but yeah, don't forget this morning there was also allusions, not directly, but to abortion and gay marriage, which deeply concern him. So that's why the lens of liberal conservative just
doesn't work. Capitalism, which he has called a few little dirty words.
That's right.
Well, that was a significant development this morning because in fact he's answered his critics who say he doesn't understand that the market can create wealth. He said this morning, yes, it can, but then having made people realise that he does believe that, he then said, but business and the economy is for the common good, and the common good demands that we care for the environment. So having got people's assent, he then challenges. It was beautifully done, very deft, got the assent and then challenged.
Austin, I want to ask you about an issue. There, as you say, he has taken America by storm, but there are a couple of people that are still angry because although Francis did appoint a tribunal in the Vatican to look into the allegations of child sex abuse within the church, and he has become one of the first pontiff to publicly address it, and this tribunal has been created. There are a lot of people who feel he hasn't done enough. The creation of a tribunal is one thing, but he wants the people, especially those who have survived the abuse, they want action. They want those bishops, those priests demoted or kicked out of the church, or worse, prosecuted.
Well, he's not the first to publicly address this issue. John Paul II and Benedict. And he's really carrying on the legal reforms in the Vatican that Benedict started. The tribunal's an important development, but actually much more important is the appointment of a commission, including victims, to advise him on policy. Look, I think he's actually doing as much as any pope can do. This isn't, by the way, something that a pope can solve, but he can take the lead in urging bishops to implement guidelines. He's doing that. May not be fast enough for some people. There has been a big culture change in the church. He's been absolutely definite from the very beginning that what happened cannot happen again. And in fact, his words yesterday to the bishops was talking about how we can now heal victims. I thought were very important words.
But it's not being... So to answer those who have survived the child sex abuse, it's not going away. In other words, the question, I guess, is are bishops saying, look, we are addressing it, let's move on? Is that happening?
No, they're not saying let's move on. They're saying that this will never go away because we're dealing here with an historical legacy of abuse, which is going to take a whole generation to come to terms with, not just, by the way, in Catholic institutions, but in society. This society has woken up, we have woken up in the West to the horror of abuse in all our institutions. And the Church, but I think the Church now, at least in America and in Europe, is taking a leading role in this and helping other institutions to come to terms with this. It's never over. But I think, yeah, they can say, and Francis is saying, let's listen, let's hear the victims. And by the way, I'm waiting for the announcement that he's met victims, because that's very, very important. He did already in the Vatican meet a number of them. Listening is a key part of this. Everybody says in the Catholic Church, if you've listened to a victim, that changes you. If you haven't, you know, you still don't get it. He definitely has.
We are all, even popes, the sum of our experiences, and he has such a fascinating background to me. His family fled Italy under the reign of Mussolini, so he is a refugee, he is an immigrant, he identifies with the immigrants, and do you think that's why this has become such a big part of almost every speech that he gives now?
Yeah, I think he's got to, I mean, look, every pope, you know, Catholic social doctrine is about embracing the stranger. That's a key biblical doctrine, but I think for him it's personal, and he's said this from the very beginning. He's told the story of the vulnerability of his own family, you know, the boat that went down that they were nearly on, they nearly drowned in. He understands also the need of the poor for the three basic things of land, of housing and of work. And this morning, straight after Congress, as if to say the purpose of politics is this, he says to the homeless, why is it that you're homeless? Why is it that we have homeless people? He starts from the basics, he starts from what people need, and he says if politics can't deliver that, then there's something wrong with our politics. And even though this morning's message was very affirming, that's the thing that's left with me. The address to the most powerful legislature in the world, and then immediately with the homeless, saying, why are you homeless?
Austen, I have a lighthearted question for you. There are many who say that this is the first priest from the Americas, the first pope from the Americas. The last non-European pope was something like Pope Gregory III, and 1,200 years ago, sometime in the 700s. But others have said, well, no, he's an immigrant. His family came from Italy. So really, he's not the first non-European pope since 752. What do you say to that?
Well, there's another discussion among the Latino community here. Is he a real Latino?
Yeah.
Because he comes from Argentina, right? Where, yeah, and they suspect, the Argentines aren't quite Latino. I think that's a fascinating internal debate, which I'll leave to you guys.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, do you think the College of Cardinals knew what they were getting when they elected him pope?
Well, they wanted a reformer. They wanted a tough guy. They wanted somebody outside Rome. They wanted somebody who can restore the pastoral focus of the church. So they knew what they were doing and they elected him, but then many of them said to me, we didn't know it would be this much of a whirlwind. Yeah. And I think for some it is too much, and it's happening too fast. He's in a hurry. He believes he's only got 5 years. He said he has an intuition that this will be a short pontificate. Now, he may have more than 5, but I know from people close to him that he is planning on basically a 5-year... So we're halfway through his pontificate, really, or as he sees it. And he's clearly in a hurry. He's making every moment count.
Man on a mission.
He's a man on a mission, and I think he is reshaping the church for generations to come, which is why I dare to call him in the writing of the book of the Great Reformer.
To Don's point, the idea that all of a sudden a lot of these cardinals are like, whoa, this is a whirlwind of change. There are some within the Vatican, mostly from Germany, that want the Pope to address the issue of Catholics who have divorced. And the Italian cabal has said, no, he can't look at this. Now, the Pope recently married a group of people. One was a couple that had a marriage annulled and already had children. Where is he going to fall on that? And you've interviewed him, obviously. What are the internal dynamics that he thinks about?
I've never interviewed him because he's never collaborated with any biographers.
Well, we have your book here, so...
But I have spoken to people who know him very, very well, and of course I was in Argentina. But no, the big issue on marriage and on, as you know, there's a synod next month which is going to conclude a long process which he initiated, which is daring to look for the first time at the whole question of how people who have become alienated from the church through divorce and remarriage might be able to find their way back. Now, as I keep saying, this isn't about changing doctrine. In that synod, marriage is still between a man and a woman, and it's forever and all the rest of it. It's about the mechanism by which the church determines that in some cases that marriage never stood a chance. The annulment system which we have in the church is clearly...
brutal. Well, it takes forever.
Well, it can do. That's the whole thing. In America, it doesn't. Like, 1 in every 2 annulments in the world is here in America. Like, if you're trying to get an annulment, it's not so hard here. In Argentina, where the Pope's from... Yeah, can-do culture. But in Argentina, for example, where the Pope is from, there are like 200 annulments a year and 10,000 divorces. Hardly anybody has access to them. And in Africa, forget it. Now, there's a natural injustice built into that. So the first thing he's doing is reforming the annulment system. And then the next question is, will that be enough? He's introduced effectively a fast-track system where bishops can say, yes, I know that in the case of this couple, you know, it's okay to allow them back to the sacraments. But we'll see next month what the conclusions are. But the big thing that he's doing is he's created a space for this to be discussed, and he's convinced that if there's agreement, that'll be a sign that the Holy Spirit is encouraging the Church to move in this direction.
The book is called The Great Reformer, Austen, Ivereigh. Thank you very much for being with us. Great discussion. Appreciate it.